Hey Internet, this is Chuck from Death Engineering, and we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to talk about my 2013 Honda Sabre motorcycle. Honda VT1300, also known as the Honda Sabre. I refer to her as the cat cycle for obvious reasons. This is fairly modified. We're going to go over some of the modifications that have been done to it. But we'll do a quick walk around just to kind of get a overall impression. Now this again is the 2013 Honda Sabre. This one has just a little over 10,000 miles on it. I bought it as new old stock in 2014. So at the time it had I think about 11 miles on it. So let's kind of do a tour. We'll start off by looking at the back here. Starting from the rear, we have the Hurricane signal covers. These dome covers here, they replace the original stock pieces from here back. I'm going to get a little bit closer, maybe you could have a closer look. But you can see that the Hurricane chrome hasn't quite held up as good as the original Honda chrome, which is admittedly plastic, but still hasn't aged as well. And to be fair, this bike lives in a garage and almost never sees rain or any weather at all for that matter. And still at the back we have this chrome cover piece down to the Sabre, and this is the stock Honda accessory side piece, also used for the saddlebags, but is required to have the Honda back on it as well. And I had that installed when the bike was still at the dealership. Kind of move forward a little bit to the air intake. The air intake here is the Cobra air intake, and I did change air intake as basically the first mod because I thought that the original Honda cut air box was just quite ugly. It's a teardrop shape that kind of fits in between the V here. The air box fits in there, but it looks, I don't know, I think it looks quite ugly. So that was the first piece that had to go. These are the matching front lens covers, and they have the same kind of discoloration to the original Honda one. Up on the front of the windscreen, this is the Honda Boulevard. I've tried a couple of different windscreens on the front. I had a bat wing at one point, very briefly, returned that before I even installed it because it looked really weird just holding it up. Had a wind vest brand. The wind vest one came up quite a bit higher, came up to around here. It's actually quite a nice piece, but it had a very strange airfoil effect that actually caused like a heavy turbulence to hit me on the top of the head. Not anything painful, but it basically made my head bounce like up and down like that. So as I was riding, it was giving me little pats on the head at a high rate of speed. It was pretty uncomfortable. So that was off. This is the Honda Boulevard, and although it doesn't provide a lot of wind protection, if I duck down, it does, and it does actually deflect a fair bit of wind as I'm at highway speed. This is the Cobra light bar. Now I went with Cobra light bar because I really like the way that the lights fit in line with the Boulevard piece, as well as having the same kind of piece over top of the lens that matches the original Honda piece. But because this light bar comes with its own side lights, I had to remove the side lights so that I could stick with the original Honda side lights so I could match the lenses to the rear. Overall it looks good, except I have this gap here where the Cobra lights would have been if they were in place. This little plastic piece here kind of matches the one in the rear. Gives it kind of a neat look on the front, I think. And down to the engine bay, we have, I believe this is the Cobra. the Cobra radiator cover. As the original radiator cover is black and quite nasty and doesn't really provide any actual protection to the radiator. It wasn't very long, even in the only 10,000 miles that I've ridden, that the original radiator cover was starting to get really ugly looking, and since it didn't provide any protection to the radiator, there was a few nicks in the radiator. So this is kind of a two-piece solution where we have the chrome radiator cover here. I believe this is the Cobra, but underneath I purchased a piece of sheet steel with holes like this, perforated steel, and then cut it to fit, and this is providing the protection. And I do ride in pretty warm conditions, but I've never run into any kind of overheating problem. I think that makes a really good solution here. You can see the stainless steel underneath the chrome look. This little dongle here is a piece that connects up to the battery tender we have inside. It lives on a battery tender all the time. If I'm going anywhere decent, I'll just tuck it under the engine cover here. And I did actually kind of miss a few pieces, so we're going to come back over to the engine. This is the chrome brake fluid cover piece and kind of mount assembly. It still has the original brake fluid container there, but this is basically just kind of covers it with chrome. Underneath the engine cover, we have the Cobra fuel computer. I think it's FC2000. I may be wrong on that. I probably could have gone with more of an engine commander type of a scenario, and at some point I'll probably take the ECU out and have it remapped for the engine design. But at the time I didn't really have the mechanical inclination to do as much work as required to put in one of the engine computers. So the fuel computer is very simple to do, as all it requires is hooking up through the fuel injectors. The wiring for that comes back and is tucked in underneath here with the battery. Another engine mod is that I've done the pair valve removal. For anyone who knows the engine at all, but you'll know it's tucked in underneath here. There's not much to see, but the pair valve is a pollution control measure that is in place to route some of the engine exhaust gases out through the exhaust system. And other than adding a little bit of extra sound, strange sound actually, once you remove it, you can hear the engine sounds a lot better, but it just adds a little more plumbing to the engine that doesn't need to be there. So off it came, and there's a very simple way to cover it. But underneath the engine there's two covers that have replaced about 2.5 feet of plumbing, so it's nice to get that plumbing out of there at any rate. And the original exhaust has its rear cylinder going off the back, and you can see there's still like a little notch here on the engine cover. The rear cylinder comes off the back, and they merge together into a single exhaust piece, with the front one going much the same route here as down underneath the crankcase and then through the back. Now I tried a few different slip-on exhausts. I had the Cobra as well as the Vance & Hines. Both the slip-on exhausts that I tried were very similar sound. I actually preferred the Vance & Hines sound better, but in the end I didn't like the way that the original exhaust had its number 2 cylinder going down the short route here, and then the long route here for the front one. Now what I was looking for, and luckily found here in the afterburner, or the Sidewinder afterburner, was an exhaust routing much like a header design that keeps the 2-cylinder exhaust ports at roughly, the exhaust tubes at roughly the same length. Bike, but it was unbelievably loud. So we're going to go back here and have a closer look. Not sure we're going to be able to see here, but inside the exhaust secondary to the actual exhaust system that's there, I've added a baffle. Now before I put the baffle in, I took some exhaust material from basically like spark arrestor exhaust material that goes inside of a dirt bike, and took a tube of it, or a roll of it, and stuck it inside around to about here on the inner wall. So this is between the inner wall and the outer wall of the actual muffler. And then I took the baffle, put it in there, and the baffle had its own mounting system to keep it in place. The end result is it's a little bit quieter, but also has kind of a nice, more of a deeper sound as well with that exhaust material in there. And that sums up the mods and updates and status of my 2013 Honda Sabre. I do want to just stop one more time to have a quick look at this little piece here. This of course is the helmet that I drive, but only around local trips. If I'm going anywhere on the highway, I do put a full face shield on, but if I'm going out just to pick up some gas or just in a tour around the neighborhood, I'll use this one here. But I like this helmet because it's got a really cool kind of a retro cafe racer look. This is called a Biltwell. Also want to kind of highlight the glove, or the goggles here. These goggles are the Halcyon brand, down here, made in England. These goggles are noteworthy specifically because this is the same company that produced goggles for fighter pilots in World War II. I went for these goggles specifically because of their use also by one of my favorite race drivers of the era in the 60s, Graham Hill. So this is kind of a tribute to him. The lenses on them are tinted lenses. These are not the original lenses. These lenses are a little bit harder to come by, and they were handmade for me by a glass company in England, or in Italy, to fit the lenses. Polarized, shatterproof glass. Anyway, that's the helmet. That's the bike. Thanks for tuning in. Have an awesome day.